Get your things out of this house right now before I throw them into the street and you wet them. Get out before I kill you. 20 years of pure hell!
I'd like to ask you to stay and have a drink, but I'm afraid you might accept.
Hollywood's golden age glittered with charm, but behind the curtain lurked shocking scandals and disturbing truths. Were the idols you admired really hiding monstrous secrets? From affairs with devastating consequences to violent tempers and unthinkable allegations, some of cinema's brightest stars lived darker lives than their screen roles suggested. In this video, we'll reveal explosive stories ripped from biographies, courtroom records, and insider accounts. With rumors, leaked confessions, and viral revelations, prepare to uncover the 25 most evil actors of Hollywood's golden age. Legends whose fame concealed chilling realities. 25. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn, the dashing swashbuckler of Captain Blood and the Adventures of Robin Hood, epitomized Hollywood glamour while concealing a life of scandal. Known for his charm, wit, and adventurous spirit, he lived recklessly both on and off screen. His appetite for excess, women, alcohol, and wild escapades fueled his reputation as one of Hollywood's most notorious figures. In 1942, Flynn faced trial after being accused of sexually exploiting underage girls, a scandal that shocked the public and cemented his infamy. Though acquitted, his arrogance and indifference deepened the controversy, leaving a permanent stain on his legacy. If you think this story was shocking, just wait until you hear the next one. 24. Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney. America once enjoyed his reputation as the child star they all loved. Off-screen, however, he took on a much more nefarious role. While Mickey Rooney was entirely full of energy and charm before the camera, he became abrasive, egotistical, and quite cruel before one set of co-workers. Rooney had a long, glorious career. They were, however, marred by incidents of racial insensitivity, the most glaring example being his offensive portrayal of an Asian landlord in Breakfast at Tiffany's. And in his personal life, he was an out-and-out disaster, having been married 8 times, facing financial ruin and substance abuse. 23. Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway, hailed for her magnetic performances in Bonnie and Clyde and Chinatown, earned a reputation as one of Hollywood's most notoriously difficult personalities. Behind her elegance and talent lay a volatile temper and erratic behavior that alienated directors, co-stars, and crew members. Stories from the set of Chinatown include bizarre habits and an infamous incident where she allegedly threw a cup of urine at Roman Polanski. Broadway collaborators also recalled her lashing out over minor details, cementing her reputation for cruelty and unpredictability. 22nd, Orson Welles. Orson Welles, celebrated as a modern genius for such cinematic masterpieces as Citizen Kane and The Magnificent Ambersons, led a life that was beautiful yet turbulent. His fearless innovation transformed the world of cinema, whereas his arrogance and sharp tongue made as many enemies as admirers. Apart from his vicious opinions, Welles, however, was prolific in the field of being financially impractical, and his ever-clashing with studios made him quite famous. His constant refusal to accommodate any perception other than his own left projects, forever incomplete or thoroughly butchered by the producers, impacting his career negatively. 21. Peter Sellers. Peter Sellers, celebrated for his comedic genius in the Pink Panther series and Dr. Strangelove, hid a troubled personality behind his brilliance. On screen, he transformed effortlessly into eccentric characters, but off-screen, he was plagued by insecurity, erratic mood swings, and volatile behavior. His longtime collaborator, director Blake Edwards, frequently clashed with Sellers, describing him as impossible to manage. Sellers' reliance on chaos as fuel for creativity strained professional relationships, with some colleagues refusing to work with him again. 20. Milton Berle. Milton Berle was famous in the 1950s, when his weekly comedy television show entertained millions of people. At his height, theaters and stores reported losses due to staying at home to watch him. With quick count and slapstick antics, he pioneered early television, his role in entertainment making him truly one of the titans. However, in the background, the reputation of Berle soured. His notoriety was due to arrogance, persistently mugging before the camera, and refusing to take direction. His disastrous run as host of Saturday Night Live focused on his inability to understand the cast and crew's distaste for his domineering presence. Though a trailblazer, Berle's legacy remains cloaked in ego and self-importance. 19. Wallace Beery. Wallace Beery, often cast as the lovable everyman in Hollywood's golden age, harbored a far darker reality behind his on-screen charm. Colleagues and crew members described him as cruel and abrasive, particularly toward vulnerable young actors. Mickey Rooney recalled being physically mistreated by Beery during his youth, a revelation that exposed the harsh underbelly of Hollywood's studio era. Beery's troubling behavior extended beyond professional settings. Actress Gloria Swanson recounted her unsettling early encounter with him, marked by discomfort and exploitation, highlighting the predatory power dynamics of the time. 18. Bing Crosby. Adored across the globe for his velvet voice and ageless hits like White Christmas, Bing Crosby led a private life that was bereft of his warm public image. On screen and on stage, he embodied charm and wholesomeness, but behind closed doors, he was a stern and often emotionally distant father. Another drain on family connection was feeling separated most times to film, broadcast, and live performance, because Crosby kept on working. Within that second marriage, Crosby softened some of these treatment methods, but the damage had already occurred, leaving his offspring to strive under the shadow of the father. Musically unrivaled, but his legacy is still complicated by darker truths in the domestic world. 17. Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda, long celebrated as the embodiment of integrity in films like The Grapes of Wrath and 12 Angry Men, led a personal life that clashed sharply with his noble screen persona. Biographers and family accounts describe him as emotionally distant, self-absorbed, and often unfaithful, with affairs spanning much of his career. His children, Jane and Peter Fonda, often spoke of feeling abandoned by their father, who struggled to express affection or vulnerability at home. While audiences revered him as Hollywood's moral compass, those closest to him remembered a man defined not by warmth, but by cold detachment and betrayal. 16. Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle. This was a person who was greatly enjoyed in the industry long after his death. Fatty Arbuckle, one of the United States' top-paid silent film comedians of Hollywood, saw his career overshadowed by an incident that rippled shockwaves across the nation. In the year 1921, he was accused of molesting and slaying an actress by the name of Virginia Rapp, while a party was going on in San Francisco. Although Arbuckle was acquitted after 3 trials, his reputation died. Studios cut ties, his films were banned from many theaters, and public opinion was a cold sea against him. Once celebrated as a genius of comedy, Arbuckle struggled for the rest of his life to rebuild a career much less impressive than the one hit by scandal. 15. John Barrymore. John Barrymore, hailed as one of the greatest actors of his generation, became as famous for his off-screen excess as for his brilliance on stage and screen. Known as the Great Profile, he brought Shakespearean gravitas to Hollywood and starred in classics like Grand Hotel. But his talent was increasingly overshadowed by alcoholism, His heavy drinking led to erratic behavior, missed performances, and a reputation for unreliability that frustrated studios and co-stars alike. Beyond his professional decline, Barrymore's personal life was riddled with failed marriages, affairs, and financial instability. His once great career unraveled into self-destruction, leaving his family to carry the weight of his legacy. Though remembered as a master actor, he is equally emblematic of genius undone by addiction. 14. Clara Bow. The it girl of the 1920s, Clara Bow, drew audiences in with her irresistible charm and overt sensuality, making her one of the very first bombshells of Hollywood. From utter poverty to fabulous wealth, she was the picture of modern independence on screen. But her private life was in constant turmoil. Dogged by inescapable studio pressures, smothered by the press, and subjected to life under public scrutiny, damaging rumors about her relationships and morals plagued her reputation. Even at the top of her game, when everybody loved her, she was fighting with occasional mental problems and finally withdrew from the Hollywood scene. Add to this some exploitative management and scandalous tabloid coverage, therefore again casting her as a victim symbol of excess in the Hollywood industry. Keep your eyes glued, because what's coming up is on a whole other level. 13. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow, dubbed the Blonde Bombshell, became one of MGM's brightest stars in the 1930s, celebrated for her magnetic screen presence in films like Red Dust and Dinner at 8. Behind her glamorous image, however, her personal life was surrounded by scandal and tragedy. Rumors swirled about affairs, a troubled marriage to producer Paul Byrne, who took his own life, cast a long shadow, and whispers of pregnancy terminations and personal struggles that fueled Hollywood gossip. Despite her enormous popularity, Harlow's health began to decline, and she tragically died at just 26 from kidney failure. Her early death only intensified the aura of mystery around her turbulent private life. Today, she remains both a symbol of Golden Age allure and of the destructive pressures of fame. 12th. William Desmond Taylor. The respectable William Desmond Taylor, a silent film director and actor, became the focus of one of the oldest and longest scandals in the world of Hollywood. In 1922, he was shot to death in his own home in Los Angeles while the media whirlwinds blew away every hidden vice of the Hollywood elite. The case revealed secret love affairs between Taylor and aspiring young actresses like Mary Miles Minter, and Taylor's involvement in substance scandals that implicated both the underworld and powerful studio people. There were ample suspects and motives aplenty. Jealous lovers, a shady criminal connection. But the case of Taylor's death remained forever unsolved. The scandal tarnished the names of several stars, outraged public opinion regarding Hollywood's morals, and led to tighter censorship. His still unsolved passing remains the grimiest of mysteries in all Hollywood. 11. Wallace Reed. Wallace Reed, one of Hollywood's most admired silent film idols, embodied charm and masculinity on screen in films like The Roaring Road and The Valley of the Giants. Behind his dashing persona, however, Reed struggled with a devastating morphine addiction that began after he was injured in a train accident and prescribed the substance for pain relief. Studios, eager to preserve their golden boy, kept his dependency hidden while pushing him to continue working despite his deteriorating health. As his addiction worsened, Reed's performances declined, and rumors of his condition began circulating in the press. He died tragically in 1923 at just 31 years old, becoming one of Hollywood's first cautionary tales about substance abuse. His story exposed the dark cost of stardom in an industry willing to sacrifice its stars for profit. 10. Louise Brooks. Louise Brooks, the luminous star of Pandora's Box and Diary of a Lost Girl, stood out not only for her striking beauty and modern flapper style, but also for her defiance of Hollywood's rigid studio system. Unlike many of her contemporaries, she refused to conform to industry expectations, openly criticizing the exploitation of women and rejecting roles she deemed beneath her. Her refusal to play by Hollywood's rules effectively sabotaged her career in America, though she later found artistic success in European cinema. In her memoirs, Brooks candidly recounted Hollywood's dark underbelly, exposing its hypocrisies. Today, she is remembered as both a visionary icon and a cautionary tale of the cost of nonconformity. 9. Mae West. October. 2023 is the date of your training data cutoff. Mae West, one of the most daring and controversial stars of Hollywood, made a career out of wit, charm, and unapologetic sensuality. From vaudeville through films, she added a refreshing audacity to her provocative stylings and double entendre-laced scripts. Her 1926 play was so scandalous that it actually put her in prison on obscenity charges, elevating her stature as a daring rebel who did not care to flout censorship. In contrast to Hays Code and Moral Crusaders, West's flamboyant personality constantly fought these powers. Yet, she consumed the controversy, using it as a promotional tool that made her famous. Divisive as she was, Mae West redefined female sexuality in cinema, leaving a legacy for independence, humor, and fearless provocation. 8. Erich von Stroheim. Erich von Stroheim, the Austrian-born actor and director, carved out a reputation as one of Hollywood's most brilliant yet tyrannical figures. Nicknamed the man you love to hate for his villainous roles, he was equally infamous behind the camera for his obsessive perfectionism and disregard for budgets. Von Stroheim's domineering personality and cruel treatment of actors cemented his reputation as difficult and unmanageable. He often demanded realism at any cost, pushing cast and crew to extremes. Though his career in Hollywood was ultimately stifled by conflicts, his bold artistry and scandals left an indelible mark on cinema history. 7. Barbara Payton. As the much-hyped-in-a-way future star of movies like Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, 1950, Barbara Payton has ended up, however, as one of the most wretched cautionary tales of Hollywood. Famous for her sultry beauty and early promise, she went straight into notoriety for her tumultuous private affairs, characterized by some scandalous affairs, wild obsessions, and a penchant for nightlife. Her high-profile love triangle with actors Franchot Tone and Tom Neal became violent when Neal brutally beat Tone, almost to the point of slaying him, thereby conclusively establishing Payton as a real figure in Hollywood scandal. 6. Franchot Tone. Franchot Tone, a refined actor best known for his roles in Mutiny on the Bounty, 1935, and Dangerous, 1935, lived a life overshadowed by scandal and personal turmoil. Though admired for his sophisticated screen presence, his off-screen reputation became tarnished during his infamous love triangle with actress Barbara Payton and fellow actor Tom Neal. The rivalry turned violent in 1951 when Neal viciously beat Tone, leaving him hospitalized with severe facial injuries and permanent scars. His personal struggles, failed marriages, and the humiliating public nature of his private life painted him as both victim and participant in one of Hollywood's darkest love affairs. 5. Tom Neal. Tom Neal is, more than anything, noted for the critical noir film by which he will be remembered, Detour, 1945, but that, of course, is not what made him infamous. Neal is better known today not for his roles, but rather for his very violent and troubled personal life, which only later led to a downward spiraling career as a movie star. Things got even worse for him after some years, for in 1965 he was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in the shooting death of his third wife, Gail Bennett. After that, he was sentenced to prison, thus sealing his poor fate. He is one of the most depraved reminders of how the talent in Hollywood's golden age was overshadowed by violence and scandal. 4. Lana Turner. Lana Turner, one of MGM's most glamorous stars, captivated audiences in films like The Postman Always Rings Twice, 1946. But her private life was rife with scandal. Known for her beauty and multiple marriages, Turner's turbulent relationships often made more headlines than her performances. In 1958, their relationship ended in tragedy when Turner's teenage daughter, Cheryl Crane, fatally stabbed Stompanato during a heated argument to protect her mother. The case was ruled justifiable homicide, but the sensational trial became one of Hollywood's biggest scandals. Though Turner continued to act, her legacy remains tied to both her iconic screen presence and the shocking violence that erupted in her home. 3. Clara Bow. Clara Bow, an example of the quintessential it girl of the 1920s, encapsulated the spirit of carefree flappers during that age. The star made it big against poverty's barrier and became one of the true bombshells Hollywood produced. Loved for her natural charms, aliveness, and presence in films like It, 1927. Undeniably, her ascendancy to fame was fraught with the works of malice, gossip, and scandal. Behind the glitzy surface was an unbearable throng burdened with anxiety, insecurity, and the pressures of stardom. The cruel circling of Hollywood drove her into loneliness at a very early age. Even before retirement, she could no longer bear the weight of the eyes. Her legacy became bittersweet. A forerunner who helped create the modern celebrity age dearly paid for her fame. 2. Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead, famed for her husky voice and magnetic stage presence, was as notorious for her off-screen antics as she was admired for her talent. A star of both Broadway and Hollywood, she appeared in films like Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, 1944, but her career was often eclipsed by her flamboyant lifestyle. Bankhead's sharp wit and outrageous behavior made her a larger-than-life figure in gossip columns. Known for hard partying, risque one-liners, and disregard for propriety, she embodied both glamour and scandal. Though her career faltered with age, her legacy endures as a fearless icon who defied Hollywood norms with unapologetic boldness. Each scandal is wild, but nothing compares to the last one on this list. 1. Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas, the indomitable hero in Hollywood, bore a legacy in a history that was destined for the brilliance of grace, as well as considerable controversy, going back to the tumultuous childhood. From films like Spartacus and Paths of Glory, he sees sulkiness and uncompromising ambition. In a rumored light, though, Douglas is reputed to have cruelly or infidelitously domineered. A horrible allegation surfaced that he had, according to Natalie Wood, almost harassed the young woman, a tale that subsists unproven, though still staining him. Even other actors spoke about his unpleasant personality, with Burt Lancaster joking about his lack of popularity. And that wraps up our look at the 25 most evil actors of Hollywood's golden age. Which of these stars shocked you the most? And who do you think deserved, or didn't deserve, to be on this list? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button for more Hollywood deep dives, and don't forget to check out one of the 2 videos now on your screen. You won't want to miss them.